Oh, this is Joey Alexander and Matthew Matar's final benchmark for senior project CST 452. Before we kind of get into the application and the embedded system, I'm going to give you a little background about this program and why we did it and kind of the problems, kind of like how this is a solution to a few of the problems in the restaurant and bar industry. So first of all, basically what this, it's going to be an aid for inventory management and also analytics and data for um, restaurant and bars to kind of help business strategies to basically for producing and consuming problems and kind of show it basically records and documents many things that happen behind the bar for the consumption of liquor that the managers and the bartenders can't really pay attention to while they're working. So basically, how this works is we have an embedded system that is taking data, which are the volume of each bottle of liquor that the manager wants to document, and then it's going to send it to our server side and keep track of inventory. Um, Before we get into the server, I kind of turn on the webcam here and kind of show what we have set up. Oh, it's already on right now. Perfect. So right here we have our embedded system. This is the guy at the our Arduino at the bottom. We have a Wi-Fi. Let's see if we can't get a better angle here. So we have the Arduino here at the bottom. We have the Wi-Fi, and then we have the prototype board here, and then our load scale module. And this is all. And the load scale module is going to be hooked up to our scale right here. We have a little plastic piece that uh, Matt's coworkers actually help us out with, so that was really cool of them. So basically, how this works is, or the type of data that it's sending is, say this is a bottle of liquor at a restaurant or behind the bar. It's going to be sitting on the scale when it's not in use, and it's going to be removed from the scale. The bartender is going to pour a drink. This is not close. I don't want to fry all this. They're going to pour a drink, and then they're going to put the bottle back on the scale, and it's going to measure the difference in volume when the bottle was initially taken off, and then when it's put back on. Um, and then that's the data that the Arduino is constantly going to be posting towards the server. And this way, the scale knows what bottle is on the scale, so that way it's going to keep track of inventory, and then also the analytics that we were talking about earlier. It's going to know it's going to keep track of how much of this liquor is being used over time, and it's going to have every single time a post is made by the Arduino when there's a difference in weight on the scale, it's going to be timestamped, so everything is going to be on a timeline. Every action that happens by the Arduino is going to be marked down to, to the minute, so the managers can really go back and look at maybe what time certain drinks are more popular. They can look at the analytics and see drinks that aren't very common. Maybe they can advertise them more. So we really focus on inventory management and also analytics to kind of help the, uh, the the managers and the owners kind of make a business strategy of how they can upsell some more liquor or maybe lay off some liquor that they're really not selling very often. So I'm going to go ahead and we can probably turn this webcam off and focus on the server side now.
Sure. All right. So proceeding with this uh, video, here on the side, like you might have noticed that there was a message stating that the liquor wasn't associated to anything. So, like Joy was saying, we have to set up the business's infrastructure to support the scale so that it knows that it's associated to something. So we could go into the inventory. This is one of the features is to uh, modify the inventory of the business so that it supports whatever drinks that they have behind the bar. Right now we have 4 drinks here that we could set up. So you could add a new one, edit ones that already exist, delete ones that exist, and we have a lot of notifications to let the user know if it's configured to something or not, so that they're not making any drastic decisions. Um, so if we were going to delete something that was configured to something, I think this one is, we'll get a notification of which scale it's configured to, so that we'll just get a heads up and make sure that we're making the right choice. Um, so Let's go to the scales configuration view, and from here is basically where the a lot of the meat of the application comes through, because we have to define one of the drinks from the inventory to the scale that's posting to the server. So right now, this scale right here is defined as scale 1. So right now it's not binded to anything, like it's stating here. We're getting a message, an error response saying the liquor is not associated to anything. The scale is not associated to any liquor. So if we associate it right away and we'll bind it to the scale in real time, we'll see that this data that's getting posted to the server will now have a success message because it has a liquor associated to it. The the way this works is that we have business logic enforcing these rules, making sure that um, the data necessary to make this post is configured properly before fully saving the file. And once it's fully saved, we get a proper response back from the server, state right here stating that it's successfully posted as soon as we were able to bind a liquor to it. And all the data that's being posted, like Joey was saying, goes to the metrics view, which gives businesses an edge in being able to modify their liquor selection and focus on developing their business strategy better. So this is a huge utility to the liquor industry, and also we do have plans moving forward to broaden the scope and make this more of a universal utility for even outside the liquor industry for anyone who wants to use it. Some of the challenges that we faced uh, in the development of this application was primarily focused on the Arduino. There wasn't a lot of there's not a lot of resources. There's not a lot of good documentation as far as building your Arduino. A lot of the pieces come with different library requirements, so it was a challenge figuring out what works with what. Um, on the application side, a challenge that we faced was figuring out our database design, because a lot of the requirements of setting up the infrastructure for a business requires on a single on a location, so on a single business. So we had to redesign the database a couple times to figure out how that would best support this um, infrastructure, so that you could have your own inventory, scale configuration, and metrics and user activity. This is another feature, so you can actually view who's doing what on the application. So the four primary features that we basically have are being able to manage your inventory, modify the scale configuration, view who is doing what on the application. We have a bunch of messages, warning as well as info based on the messages that you basically get within the app as you're using it, and the metrics view, which helps businesses view their analytics and just tell them what's going on. And this is a really good solution because it's an automated one. In the liquor industry, the solution is supposedly to do more audits to manage inventory, but that's still a manual procedure that takes time, and it takes everybody's time because everyone has to get involved during the audit. Um, and so this just reduces a lot of the costs associated to that, and it'll keep track of um, training. It's good for training purposes because we'll also be able to monitor like who's pouring what, how much they're pouring, when are they pouring it. So we'll also be able to monitor if they're doing it at improper hours that are outside of the vendor license business uh, terms of service. So this app is a huge utility to all those businesses, especially providing oversight to everything and giving businesses the analytics. We also have a separate view for vendors, but this isn't fully fleshed out. We're still working on it, where they'll be able to monitor over the locations that they're overseeing, that they license to. This is still in production, but this is something that we plan to implement forward, so that vendors basically have oversight over the businesses that they're licensing to. So yeah,
So,
um,
like Matt was talking about, some of the challenges that we were working with were configuring the database and just the overall architecture of the database and the design of the database, and also like Matt said about the Arduino being definitely a challenge in this application because we've never had hands-on hardware and wiring stuff around like this. So the way we overcame this funny part is with the Arduino is we just fried a bunch of boards and we just kept having to buy new ones, different types. We tried out different modules, different versions of all these boards, and so that's basically how we got through the challenges. Trying to figure out how to get all the connections and the communication going with the Arduino was just by trying different things. So on the server side, I was just kind of picking at each other's heads, and finally figured
And
something out that worked. Matt's got something else here to add.
so on the server side, during development, we implemented JUnit. So this was kind of like a more of a developer feature than a user one. So we implemented JUnit as well as a code coverage tool called MCLA. Um, Basically, this lets us test out all of our services to make sure that as we are moving forward into application development, that everything still works properly based on the testing that we're implementing. And this is a really good solution to that because it literally only takes, as you can see here, 10 seconds uh, at most to verify that all the services still work, and we can monitor the code coverage to make sure that we're also testing as many cases as possible. Currently, the application is at 40%, but there's a lot that we can't test just because it's outside of the scope of JUnit.
So yeah, this is basically everything that our application offers so far. We definitely want to be like Matt talked about earlier. We do for the what we're thinking about down the road for our future plans. We want to bring this out to a larger scale, maybe some factories when we're at weighing a lot more inventory at once, and then also just different industries altogether. Every 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 company that has is producing something and then people are consuming it, you're going to want to document what's consuming the products, if it's for profit or if it's for waste. So this is our plan for the future. Matt and I had a lot of fun talking about this application and development over the last couple months. We learned a lot. So yeah, we're looking forward to continuing seeing where this takes us and how much more this takes off and grows. Sweet. Thanks for watching. Have a good summer.